I'm painting the cutest pet today, Pörri, and I might make a huge mistake. But don't worry, everything turns out beautifully in the end. Let me show you how. When I paint in oils, the foundation matters more than anything. This time I start on a small MDF board. It's light, smooth and sturdy. I primed it first with gesso to create a protective barrier, then applied 3 even layers of dark green acrylic base. This underpainting does 3 things. It seals the surface, thanks to the gesso, creates a glow beneath the oils, and prevents the paint from sinking in too fast, while helping the oil to run on the surface smoothly. It also helps me avoid that blank canvas anxiety. Once that's dry, I sketch the outline of the cat using a diluted mix of yellow and white oil paint. Whenever I paint, pet, human, or anything else really, I start the same way. Big shapes first. I don't jump to detail. I think about form, light, and how the subject lives in their space. This stage is all about thinking and confidence, making the first marks without fear. And there's no need to be scared at all, because this light sketch lets me adjust proportions and placement. If the head's too big or the body's too far on one side, I can correct it right now. My whole approach is broad to specific. Lock in the big shapes first, then refine and go into the shapes deeper, adding more details step by step, layer by layer. Artists who dive straight into detail risk ending up off balance. I build from broad forms to finer shapes, just like my teachers taught me. It's pretty similar with how I build up light and colors too. I map out the dark areas with a darker oil mix. I block in the background now too. I already know where the highlights will hit Pörri's fur, so I determine where the darkest parts of the background should be to give enough contrast and make the subject pop. I like classical backgrounds, so that's what I was aiming for here as well. By establishing the background early, I make it easier for myself to concentrate on the colors of the subject afterward. This was my first oil painting in a while, and I'll admit I felt rusty at first. But it's funny, those skills don't just disappear. It's like riding a bike. The moment I dipped the brush into the paint, it all started to come back. Painting is part of who I am. Turpentine runs in my veins. Getting the eyes and nose right is always a challenge. I don't use projectors or grids, just my eyes, intuition, and measuring with my hands if necessary. It takes practice, patience, and careful observation, and sometimes a start over. I'm not strict with which brush does what, but I usually have a couple dedicated to light and dark colors, and smaller ones for detail. Building fur takes layering and different brushes. First, I lay down a mid-tone that defines volume with a thicker brush. Then with a smaller brush, I add hair strokes. Never every strand, but enough to suggest the softness and direction of the coat. I don't go for hyperrealism. I aim for texture you can feel. Where the fur looks fluffy, you should almost be able to feel it under your fingers. And I love slipping in odd colors, like orange or pink, to keep it fresh and lively while still grounded. We obviously know that the cat is not pink, nor green or purple, but when you look from a distance it gives the right overall impression of the fur, And then when you walk closer, you can see in more detail how many different colors there are. This intimacy with small paintings is lovely in my opinion. It's like when there is a huge painting and you look at it from a great distance. You see the whole scene, the meaning behind it, but it tells you its secrets when you walk up to it and look at it up close. The intimacy is without compare. You can almost see the artist's hand move through the brush strokes and details. Now let me talk about the subject of this painting. This special little cat is Pörri, rescued from a shelter by my best friend and her husband. In the first few months, she was so terrified she hid in their sauna most days. Bit by bit, she started to claim spots around their home until she became the ruler of it. Now she is like a queen, a total diva who knows exactly what she wants. My best friend says Pörri is their child and they love her like one. Watching her blossom from that shy little blur into a confident companion has been one of the most beautiful things she has ever seen. Painting her feels like honoring that transformation. At some point during the painting, I like to revisit the background and give it its final look. I like to use similar colors in the background as I used in the subject. It makes the painting look more cohesive, more complete. I also make the corners darker. It is a classical background painting method that just gives a little frame to the image. Sometimes I like to keep one corner lighter to sort of have a little window, a little light source. Creating pet portraits is more than technique. It's about storytelling. Every brush stroke carries emotion. Every color choice reflects personality. My process takes time, between layers, drying, and careful observation, but the result is a timeless keepsake. When I presented this painting to my best friend, she was so moved. Seeing Pörri's confident gaze immortalized on a painting like this makes me proud. Not just as an artist, but as someone who witnesses and honors transformative journeys. My favorite part of the painting is towards the end, with the details and finishing touches that make certain areas stand out, like the shine in the eye or the lightest parts of the fur. They just make it so much more alive than it was before this step. Although, messing up at this point is dangerous. My whisker went too thick, and I nearly got a heart attack. But luckily, the layer underneath was dry, so with a bit of turpentine and a dry cloth, I lifted the stroke cleanly. Then eventually I laid the board flat, parallel to the floor, and painted the whiskers like that. This angle change helped me do it with a steady hand and a whisper-thin line. Thank you for following along. If you love process videos like this, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments which pet I should paint next. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok, where I share more behind the scenes from my studio. Until next time, bye!